So, y'all ready for some excitement for the next 15 minutes? All right, anybody that goes away from the podium, you should probably be expecting something a little bit different. All right, so I'm gonna start off by saying I'm gonna need some participation. So the participation is hospital. When you think about a hospital and you think about the walls and the barriers that exist in hospitals, we need people like you that can break down some of these barriers. So anytime that I say walls throughout this 15 minutes that we spend together, I'm going to need you to give me one clap. So when I say walls, now for the delayed people in the back, I'm going to need you to catch up with me. All right. So whenever I say walls throughout this presentation, by the end of it, we're going to tear down some barriers, because here's the barrier that exists with me personally. I grew up Section 8, in the projects, in the worst area you can ever imagine of growing up. Drugs, opiates. As a matter of fact, across my journey, I spent 2 weeks sleeping under a bridge, under a slab of concrete. If you ever looked under a bridge, this is what's under the bridge. There's a piece of concrete about this high, then there's a space there, and then there's the bridge that's over top. And my mother and I spent 2 weeks under this bridge. And so often, I have an opportunity to reflect over the experience that I was allotted in my lifetime. And when I was in that journey, it was so interesting because I felt like the community and the society that I was in did not care about me as a person. And then I found out that if you just have a little bit of patience and allow people to eat off of your plate, for the P, have patience, for the L, have love, for the A, have affectionate. And if you give somebody just a little bit of time, and E, even your life if necessary, you cannot settle for nullity and be in the statistics that have been shared this afternoon. So a poem that I reflect on and I share with you, Behind the Walls of a Hospital. I appreciate, now there's some delayed folks in here. Come on, y'all gotta walk with me now. So as I was going through my journeys, I'm gonna leave you with this. When you're up against troubles, meet them squarely face to face. Lift your chin, set your shoulders, plant your feet, and take a brace. When it's vain, you try to dodge, you do the best you can do. You may fail, you may conquer, but you must see it through. So often in my journey, I have people tell me that I wouldn't amount to anything. I remember while I was on my journey, I was in school. Literacy in my neighborhood was not a proponent of success. And a teacher gave me an award, and this award was a grammar butcher. But what she didn't know, the community that I was in, literacy was not a foundation of truth. So I spoke like I was spoken to. Now, if you fast forward and you look at what some of the successes I've done, I want to go back to that school teacher to share with her that I've published 3 books. I sold 1 million copies of my last book, 26 contract with Barnes & Noble Books a Million. And what is the purpose and the relevance of me sharing this personal story with you? It's everybody in this audience today can make a change. If you have just a little bit of vulnerability and candor to say that one life matters. If it wasn't for people that took time out of their life to change my aptitude, I would be in 1 or 2 places, in the grave or in jail. So I'm asking that you go beyond the walls. We're getting a lot better. Now we got to tear this wall down because, there you go. All right, y'all catching up with me now. So what I've learned is, as a hospital administrator, my track has a lot of humility. And I think that we as healthcare leaders across the spectrum of healthcare, if we choose to get into this profession as healthcare stewards, I think we have to have the most emphasis on why we chose that as a profession. I started off in poverty. I went to school, became a CNA, finished my nursing degree, worked med-surg, ICU, CCU, did critical care nursing, then I did traveling nursing. And at no point did I ever put $1 on a patient. At no point did I ever have a discussion about Medicaid, Medicare, Blue Cross, Blue Shield. Because I said, if my mother or my father or my grandparents ever had an opportunity to come into the walls, we're getting a little bit slower, of the hospital that I work at, I want to make sure that I treat that person with dignity and with respect. And that's why I chose healthcare. I didn't choose healthcare to make any corporation any amount of insurmountable money. I didn't choose to do what I do just to have a facade to be the top 100 or to be the CMS star rating. What I chose and why I chose healthcare is to allow something to happen to my grandmother to not exist. We've had speakers talk about infant mortality. We talked about opiate crisis. But my grandmother across the journey, can y'all still hear me? All right. My grandmother across the journey, she chose the healthcare. Oh, that's pretty loud there. Let's give a clap for that. All right. So my grandmother across her journey, she was 76 years old when she was on her deathbed. I had an opportunity to talk to her. And I said, "Grandmother, is everything okay?" And she said, "Well, son, I've only lived 6 years of my life." I'm thinking they gave her too much medication. I'm thinking something's going on. I'm thinking Alzheimer's, dementia is kicking in. But here's what she meant. She lived 6 years of her life just for herself, because the 70 years that she was allotted, she lived for her spouse, her kids, her family, her job. I'm here to tell you today that beyond the hospital walls, you can make a difference. She ended up getting killed by a caregiver in a nursing home. That was the last message that I had received from my grandmother. I'm vested as a CEO to make a difference for Fort Wayne, Allen County. Not because of the economics, not because of the accolades, but because I do not have a desire for another family member to be exposed to some of the things that I've been exposed to. And I think if we can take that key initiative in regards to doing what's right for the people amongst us, I think we'll be a better society. I think we will beat adversity and aspire to live. And I think ultimately we will not settle for nullity, which means nothingness. I'm here to tell you that if you just allow people to eat off your plate, have a little bit of patience and have a little bit of love and affection and time and even your life if necessary, you can have a person like me who won't end up as a statistic. Drugs was in my household. Alcohol was in my household. Gangs was in my household. But it took some courageous, innovative person in this room to allow me to see a different landscape. And on my journey, the only thing I beg and the only thing I plead for whenever I get into settings of such, as you just have one encounter with one person, and we as a community of Fort Wayne, Allen County, will function beyond the hospital walls. Thank you.